friends. While we're getting situated in the room, I wanted to alert you to the fact that you have received the handouts by email 2 days ago. And it comes from me, Cedar Deal, and the title is Conference Links and Handouts. And in that email, there are 3 handouts. One looks like this. I don't know if you can see it.
Closer.
Can't see it.
Closer.
Can you see it now? No, you can see. Well, it says QREC 2022 Conference Intergenerational Religious Education, a Curriculum Writing Lab, and it's a 1-pager. And then there is another one that is what is intergenerational worship, and it has some colored boxes on it. And then there's another one that is 6 pages long. The most important one is the first pager that I showed you, because it has some things that you will need to know in there. We will also share them on the slides, but you may prefer to have them in handouts.
No.
I believe we're just going to wait another couple of minutes and then we'll get started.
Let me check the porch.
Okay. Yeah, everybody's out there enjoying the sunshine. By this point in a conference, everybody's tired. Saturated.
Reminder to friends in English that you'll need to select English from the languages to be able to hear any interpretation from friends in Spanish into English if they share.
Do we have Spanish speakers? Spanish only speakers?
Yes, I believe so.
We do. Okay. Welcome, friends. I think I'm going to wait maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. So let's settle into silent worship while we wait for everyone to get in the room, and then we will begin. Thank you, friends. I'm Sita Deal from Madison Friends Meeting, Northern Yearly Meeting, and also a member of QREC Steering Circle and the Planning Circle. And this workshop is called Intergenerational Religious Education, a Curriculum Writing Lab. So in this workshop, you are all going to be dividing into small groups and create lesson plans or notes or project plan, something that will be intergenerational and that we can share with this community of practice. So we are going to be calling on all of us and all of our skills to, as Beth says, we are all teachers and we are all learners. So I'll ask Chris Jorgensen to introduce herself, my co-facilitator.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm on Zoom. So I'm from New England Yearly Meeting, Friends Meeting at Cambridge, and intergenerational worship and lessons have been my interest for many years. So I'm happy to be here with you all and also to learn from what you may have to share.
Thank you, Chris. And now I'm going to ask Jen if she will put up the slides, because I'm going to ask you to choose one of 7 prompts, and we will divide into small groups by these prompts, although those of us in this room are going to have to choose 2 prompts so that we can divide into 2 groups. So I'm going to put them up and I will read through them, and Laura will translate very kindly into Spanish. Laura, do you know if we have anyone who is monolingual Spanish?
She said in the chat that we do, and she can't answer, remember, when we ask her questions because she's in the channel.
Okay, that's fine. Can you go to the next slide? I'm going to read these prompts, and after I read each one, I will stop. And Laura, please translate. And these prompts for people in the room are on your 1-page handout. Next slide.
The internet's very slow. So
Okay.
it's taking a moment.
This is good for our worship life and our patience. Oh, so the prompts are, there are 7 of them, and 4 of them are on the first slide and 3 on the next slide. So these are, you're going to choose one of these. I suggest that you choose one and make a second choice, especially for people in the room, since we will have to come together around this. So one is that you're going to write intergenerational lesson plan or program for either World Quaker Day or George Fox's 400th birthday. The second, oh, Laura, go ahead.
It's in the channel.
Okay. The second is that you are asked by the meeting to come up with some intergenerational activity ideas to present at the upcoming meeting for business. There's a bias toward outdoor activities. What do you present? So you may want to do this for a couple of hypothetical meeting types: large, small, urban, rural, programmed, unprogrammed, a 1-day 9 to 4 retreat, or a quarterly meeting, or you may just want to choose one of those just for the sake of time. Third is to write an intergenerational lesson on children in the Bible or anger in the Bible. Choose one.
Give her a minute to catch up.
Okay. Fourth is to develop an experiential Quaker history lesson with reading, community outings, drama, etc. And then let's go to the next. Oh, wait. Next slide. Fifth is you plan a children's meeting where the children lead the whole meeting in worship. Children and youth. Sixth is outreach to the wider community, how to invite families to enjoy the intergenerational meeting church community, realizing that intergenerational interaction is one of the things we offer to families. They're seeking that. And seven is that you have been called upon to do an all ages second hour activity of up to 45 minutes about safety in the meeting. It will be hybrid. You also carry a concern that emotional and physical safety in home will be a conversation that could happen beyond this 45 minutes. So what's your outline and how do you approach home-based safety? So while we are talking, we are going to have, Chris is going to facilitate a discussion amongst all of us. And I would like to ask you if you, while we're discussing, think about these prompts and make your first and second choice. And then, pause. And during the discussion, I would like to ask you to raise your hand, whether your physical hand or your mechanical hand, if you wish to speak, or you can put something in the chat, but we need to have only one person talking at a time. Okay, so now we'll stop sharing the screen and I'll ask Chris to facilitate a discussion on the value of intergenerational religious education for a community and what helps the program feel more intergenerational. And then after that, we'll just throw out some examples. Chris, go ahead.
Great. Well, I think because you are here, that you have some ideas about the value of intergenerational religious education. I think some things that we could mention, and it is perhaps also that you may have to convince other people about this value. So it's a good idea to have an idea about what you value about intergenerational programs or worship or activities in your meeting.
Entonces vas a poder pensar por qué es importante para ti, pero también cómo explicar a los demás por qué es importante juntar en grupos de diferentes edades.
So we know that different age groups bring different gifts just by virtue of their life experience and their stage of development.
Sabemos que diferentes grupos traen sus capacidades con su edad y cómo pueden interactuar y qué pueden ofrecer.
And of course, the sense of the community of the meeting, the better that adults and children know each other, the more sense of community each of them will have.
Y lo más que todo el mundo puede ofrecer lo que es importante para ofrecer en el grupo, pueden tener la comunidad más intergeneracional. Entonces es una meta para la comunidad y para individuales.
And I can speak that when you learn from a child, there is a special joy in that.
Y cuando uno se aprende algo de un niño, hay una alegría especial en este tipo de momento.
Yeah. It may also help you when you are hoping to involve more adults in teaching the children that they have had an experience with the children.
Y así puede ver que con más personas tienen oportunidad para estar con los niños, más personas tienen esa experiencia y pueden entender por qué es importante.
And I wonder if we could hear from you all. If, for instance, you're making the case for intergenerational religious education, what would you say that it adds to the religious experience of your meeting?
Entonces vamos a pensar en qué es la experiencia en tu comunidad y para tu experiencia ofrecer a uno y otro nuestros ejemplos y nos va a ayudar mucho a pensar en qué podemos hacer y crear.
So I'll ask you to raise your hand, just so that we can hear each other, and we'll wait for the translation after you speak.
Y levanta la mano si quiere compartir y vamos a esperar que tenemos interpretación antes de que la siguiente persona habla.
Judith.
Diga Judith, de Kenia.
I am Judith from Kenya. The intergenerational learning in my church, it brings confidence among children. The moment you bring them and they teach the older people, they have maybe they are preaching, they are giving announcement, you find that most of them, they get that confidence and also they feel happy. They feel happy because they are able to present to their parents and they are able to present to older people. So it really builds confidence in them.
Entonces dice el amigo, estamos muy felices cuando están los niños en las juntas en Kenia. Cuando llegan, vienen mucho con sus experiencias y está compartiendo también su alegría. Entonces esto es algo que queremos agradecer que en la comunidad intergeneracional que estamos todos juntos y compartiendo.
Beth.
Our meeting has done all ages religious education, and a lot of it was around godly play and faith and play stories. And when we wonder genuinely as a community, it's remarkable how vital the faith of young children can be. And it's almost jaw-dropping for some of the adults to hear these just crystal clear, grounded insights from a 7-year-old. And it really, they set the bar higher for the entire meeting. And that's a good thing. You know, it gets the adults shaking off their reliance on graduate degrees and all kinds of things. And it says, strip away some of those defenses and just go one-on-one with the Spirit and see what happens.
Y lo bueno de tener los niños en las juntas es que estamos todos recibiendo al Espíritu presentes. Como si un niño de 7 años, estamos presentes con este niño y acordando que el Espíritu es lo más importante y no como los adultos su carrera o su profesionalidad. porque los niños nos ayuda a sentir más lo básico de estar juntos con el Espíritu Santo.
Does anyone on Zoom have thoughts or ideas to contribute?
¿Alguien en Zoom quiere compartir algo sobre la comunidad intergeneracional?
Well, thank you.
Gracias.
So when we're thinking about making an intergenerational program, what are the qualities that we are looking for?
Entonces, cuando estamos creando actividades, programas intergeneracionales, ¿cuáles son las metas y intenciones que tenemos en crear? ¿Por qué estamos creando este tipo de actividad o de programa?
So what are some of the characteristics that you have seen that makes an intergenerational time successful?
Entonces, también, ¿cuáles son unas características para crear un tiempo entre edades? Y ¿cuáles son esas cosas que ayuda, que es logроso, que sí sirve bien? Entonces, características en un programa que tiene éxito.
Maisie,
Can y'all hear me on Zoom? I do a fair amount of programming outside Quaker Spaces, but I've done a little in Quaker Spaces. And most of the stuff I've done that has successfully brought in groups of people was designed to build connections, right? So like building relationships between the people was important. And I generally go for like having fun. And I was thinking like it has to be fun and engaging. But then I was thinking about a Bible study that Michelle Martin.
Martha Martin and pause for translation.
Oh. Entonces, este es amigo Mitzi de North Carolina y está explicando que para él, creando mucho programación en su trabajo con personas, él encuentra que es muy importante pensar en cuando está creando este tipo de programación. Va a explicar cuáles son las características para él que encuentra que son útiles.
I was thinking about a program that Marcel Martin did a Bible study, and that was probably the most engaged I had seen the kids with the adults at our yearly meeting ever. And it wasn't necessarily the most fun Bible study I've ever been to, but the kids were totally engaged. And why?
yeah, what was the secret ingredient?
She's amazing. Right? I don't know. Like whenever I'm like in anything she's doing, I feel closer to the spirit if I'm actually paying attention to what she says. And stop the translation.
Entonces, está acordando, Mitzi, que hay una amiga que se llama Marcel Martín y ella es autora y hace muchas conferencias y juntaba una vez para dar un clase y una lección sobre la Biblia y ese fue un tiempo intergeneracional. Entonces, él se notó que porque ella está muy presente al espíritu y muy abierta y sus capacidades, que los niños pues, ponieron mucha atención y fuera un momento en que cada persona, además los niños más, estuvieron muy involucrados, muy presentes y gustaron mucho ese tiempo.
So, I don't know what the line is, but it seems like a good measure, right? Like if we're trying to do programming that isn't engaging the kids, and they're not finding it interesting, right? Like maybe we need to look at our programming as a whole.
I gotta say, my hearing isn't great, but I couldn't make out what you were saying. It isn't volume, but it's how distinct. I don't know if there's anything to do about that.
I can take off my mask and intentionally yell at the mic.
Is that better, Chris?
Is it better?
Great.
How about simple language? So that we're aware children don't want, you know, they're gonna get lost in 5-syllable words sometimes. So we need to make sure that the language is accessible. And maybe it doesn't, the programs maybe segmented a little bit, so there's some changes and differences in it, and it's not like one long thing for 2 hours.
Está sugiriendo la amiga Beth de Nueva Inglaterra que a lo mejor pensamos en usar palabras muy sencillas y así programando así con intención de hablar más sencillamente ayuda a los niños y también a los adultos tener acceso y llegar a entender la información que estamos creando y ayuda a crear una comunidad más intergeneracional.
But correct me, this is Nadine from Buffalo Friends Meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong, what I heard you saying was, it wasn't so much the program, it was the vitality of the attention to the individuals. It's that connection that we make. So just perfecting the curriculum, we can, whatever curriculum we bring, we have to like see these children as people, and connect with them as real people and interact. And then they are curious, right? Sure. So I think that's part, the relationship is as important as the curriculum.
Entonces, esta es la amiga Nadine y está ofreciendo pensar que algo que hace programación diferente es no solo tener un currículo lindo o tener un plan muy buena, pero que estamos con intención de verdad conectar con uno y otro y que los niños y los adultos pueden sentir que hay un momento de verdad de estar juntos y poder convivir, poder pasar tiempo juntos y que queremos estar juntos y queremos que uno y otro sienten amados por uno y otro, que eso a lo mejor es una diferencia que cambia cómo sentimos cuando estamos juntos con diferentes edades.
I see 14 chat.
They're from, oh wait, what?
In the chat, Joyce shared with us, when we have the Bible games during the outdoor time, it makes the children memorize the books of the Bible. Que dice Joyce que durante el tiempo afuera y tenemos juegos de la Biblia, entonces es una ayuda para los niños para memorizar los libros de la Biblia. So.
Andrew.
I was thinking earlier that a big part of it is just believing and knowing that the children will and can contribute. Like it's just it's an exception, or it's an expectation and understanding. And I think I was at the Bible study that Marcel did, and she just read these, it was so simple. She just read these passages from early friends, and it was like worship sharing. The kids had things to say, but it was like this, it was the assumption that was set, the belief that was set. Yeah.
Está acordando también, amigo Andrew, que él estaba también presente cuando hablaba la señora Marcel Martin y ella solamente estaba leyendo palabras antiguas de primeras generaciones de cuáqueros. Entonces no fuera algo muy increíble que ella hacía, que más increíble fuera que cómo ella compartía y porque los niños pudieron sentir que claramente ella estaba hablando y ofreciendo que este cambió como ellos recibieron y ponieron atención en este momento y el cuento llegaba a su corazón así más.
Thank you.
Kurt. Kurt Terrell, Chapel Hill Friends Meeting in North Carolina. In our meeting, we have to resist always bringing the kids to the adults instead of the adults going to the kids. So the children will come in the first part of the meeting and then leave, or they'll come at the end of the meeting and they'll show something. But one of the things we're trying to do is maybe have some of the adults, maybe one Sunday, 3 or 4 of them go into first aid school. We don't have to have a whole group, just a few of them. Because some of the adults are petrified to do that, but just that resistance that we need to go to them, and I expect them to come to us all the time.
Great, thank you.
Está ofreciendo el amigo que una idea o algo que él está notando mucho, que a veces invitamos a los niños a estar con los adultos siempre, pero ¿por qué no pensar en maneras que los adultos están invitados a llegar a donde están los niños, a sus clases? Puede ser unas pocas personas y a veces sienten incómodos o sienten no capaces los adultos a ir a visitar a los niños, pero es muy importante ver por qué no invitamos a los niños a recibir adultos y no solamente los niños ir a donde están los adultos en diferente área.
Yes. In our yearly meeting, we always have times, or we have always had times for adults to come be with the children, and then they report back to the adults, as opposed to the children always coming to the adults.
Y así igual está compartiendo que en su junta anual tienen programado que los adultos vienen a visitar a los niños en su programa y después de eso pueden los adultos hacer reporte sobre qué están haciendo los niños, cómo están en su programa, a compartir eso con los adultos en vez de que los niños tienen que venir a visitar a los adultos en su tiempo de junta.
Yeah.
And particularly with teens, this is similar from Madison meeting, particularly
And with older elementary school students, involving them in the planning of the activity so that they have a sense of ownership in what goes on. So they get to choose what the focus is, what the activities are, what the timing is, whether there's food or not. All of those sorts of things gives them a sense of ownership and true contribution to the intergenerational learning.
Entonces, hace pensar, Cita, que en su junta cuando están haciendo programación, invitan a los adolescentes de la primaria a escoger dónde, cuándo, qué va a pasar, habrá comida, habrán meriendas o qué van a hacer y así involucrando a los niños a crear programas, crear cómo va a ser, están muy dispuestos para llegar y sentir partes, pero también involucrados y que lo que está pasando es importante para ellos.
Gracias. I want to mention in the chat, people were saying yes, connection is what is often rather than content, that connection is something that people remember from their childhood experiences with people in their meeting.
Entonces, aquí tenemos en chat, está poniendo español, inglés, comentarios, que sí, esta conexión es muy importante. Más importante que a veces que el contenido que aprendemos sobre el carácter de adultos. Y más educación viene de la experiencia de conexión. Conectar con uno y otro.
Thank you. Just briefly, I want to add a couple of things and then let's move on to examples. I think recognizing that we all have bodies and that we can move and that we can sing is something that we need to pull the adults into that experience with the children.
Entonces vamos a compartir un poquito más ideas y luego están en grupitos. Entonces está queriendo avisarnos o acordarnos, Cristel, que todos tenemos cuerpos y todos necesitamos tiempo para mover, para cantar, y así es posible interactuar en maneras más creativas y recordar que toda cualquier edad necesita movimiento, necesita inspiración así, creativa.
So, the 6 pages you received gave a lot of examples actually of intergenerational learning and activities.
Entonces hay información que han repartido que llegaba a correo electrónico y tienen muchos ejemplos sobre qué es tiempo intergeneracional.
And I'm wondering, what if people would like to raise up their own examples that they feel really worked. And or Sita might also mention some that came up in their, it was a conversation circle about intergenerational activity.
Entonces hace unas semanas tuvieron un tiempo de conversación que se llama Conversation Circles, círculos de conversaciones por Zoom. Y en este programa hablaron de ejemplos. Entonces, quiere Cristel saber, ¿gustarían compartir en este momento unos ejemplos? ¿Cómo han experimentado tiempo intergeneracional y por qué funcionó bien o salió bien este tiempo?
So a few examples, I'm looking at page 2, if you happen to be looking at the handout. And this, I believe, Chris and Beth have both done this in their meetings, which is where you host an all ages worship before the regular meeting for worship time. And maybe Andrew has done this as well. An all ages worship before the regular meeting time. So the adults come to the children's all ages worship. It's in a different space than the meeting room, but the adults come for about 45 minutes. And then during meeting for worship, the kids just have kind of playtime. So the instructional time is everyone together. And then during meeting for worship, the children get to play with each other, which is relationship building.
Un ejemplo que nos ofrece Cita es que pueden programarlo en vez de empezar con oración y luego tener una junta, una charla, una práctica sobre un tema. Empiezan en su junta anual con información primeramente y el diseño es algo que es para todas edades, información recibido para todos y luego después entran a su tiempo de adoración.
Chris, would you like to say more about family worship?
So ours, actually, we've been doing it for a very long time. And part of our thing is that we actually do it during the regular meeting for worship because we're a large meeting. We can do that. It gives the Sunday school teachers a week off, which is important. We do it once a month. And we're noting that it looks like we don't have Spanish only speakers with us right now. So if they jump back on, then we'll go back to interpreting. So we have a sort of general agenda that we follow, and then we look for a different theme every month. And we've done all kinds of things. I personally have done it since 2005. So, and we have a committee that puts this together, which takes the burden for that Sunday off of the first day school teachers. And it's very popular with the adults in our meeting. They love, I mean, there are some people, that's when you see them, is on the Sunday for the meeting with the children. And if all we did was interact with the children, that would make it worthwhile, but we also get other gifts from that. We usually have a story, we have singing, we have activities, we try to move around, we try to hear the children's voices, and there are times when they also are part of the planning. So we like it a lot.
Thank you, Chris. And there's another example here where a meeting sends queries to the families ahead of time and invites the children to draw or write a response that they can share during family worship. And go ahead.
Let's see, Marcia?
You're muted, Marcia. Unmute yourself.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I remember being in an all-age setting where the children were told to go sit next to somebody with gray hair. And they did. And then there were questions that the moderator asked. And the couple, the older person and the young person, were to discuss that together. And then after that question was asked, the children were asked to report on what they learned or what happened. And the good thing was that it really, really worked. The children were affirmed that their responses were intelligent because this elderly person affirmed them in this. And it was just so touching that it really worked.
Thank you. Kathleen.
Kathleen Hardy, Nashville meeting. One of the memories that's popping into my mind, Nelson Hewson was a beloved member of Nashville Friends meeting for many years, one of the founding members of the meeting. And my daughter and Sita's daughter were some of the children that Nelson would visit with, and they got in, I think it was a potluck Sunday. Bonnie and Sophie got in trouble and some other friends got in trouble for jumping halfway down as far as they could jump down the staircase in the meeting, in the reception area of the meeting house. And so Nelson just, instead of fussing at them, went over and started interacting with them and playing with them and talking to them, kept them from getting into
More trouble.
Nelson and Mary moved to another area of the country for retirement, Kennett Retirement Center. And but Nelson's memorial service was held at the Fisk Jubilee Hall, where Nelson had taught for many years at Fisk. And the place was just filled with people. And I think Sophie might have, but I know Bonnie spoke out of the silence along with other adults in the memorial of their memories of Nelson. And afterwards, adults from other communities came and said, "Oh, you can speak." And they were kind of snarky teenagers at that point in time. I said, they didn't think we could stand up on our two hind legs and talk like we're doing tricks. But the fact was that they had the confidence and the memory and the love of his presence to be a part of the ministry that was shared that day. I think
Yeah, that's
speaks
lovely.
that so many of our actions are things that we don't even see as lessons, but
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
And how we treat people.
But before we, I don't know, Jen, are you managing a 3-ring circus here right now?
Of course.
So we're going to go into,
Shortly, and I would like to ask the people online to put the number of your choice in the chat. And so that when we go into the breakout groups, there will be 7 breakout groups by topic. And if you would put your choice in the chat, then we could try to figure out which breakout groups we have enough people for. So while we continue this discussion a little bit. Did I just make your life way more complicated?
Yep, that's not what we're gonna do.
Oh,
because I
okay.
don't know
What are we gonna
language
do?
Everybody speaks.
Okay,
So
we'll just go one by one,
we're
right?
just gonna go into groups and they can pick whatever one they want. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Okay. So there will be groups 1 through 7 and you just choose it?
Well,
by
there's not
number?
enough to have 7 groups of 4.
Okay,
I have 4.
okay. So people will go into 4 groups, decide amongst yourselves which one of these prompts you're going to choose. And then we'll go ahead and we'll have, I think, about 40 minutes to do that.
Do we want to divvy it up so the 4 groups online do different, we do 2 different ones
So-
here, then we can have 6 of the 7?
I think we are not going to be able to be that organized. I think the groups are just going to have to get together, pick a prompt, work on it, and we have potluck.
That's what we're gonna do.
All righty. I'll just bring up one more before we close. And that is the teens in our group had a huge concern about climate change. And so for Earth Day in Wisconsin, which is where climate change, Earth Day started, they hosted an Earth Day teach-in, which is what you're supposed to do on Earth Day. And they invited organizations, climate activism organizations from the community. And they also hosted their own teen table in which they handed out challenge documents to all of us about what we could do to live in a more friendly way with the planet. They planned the whole thing. They planned queries for the meeting, and it was very empowering to all of them. They gave us a month to straighten up our act and report on what we had done. And then they reported to the meeting for business on how things went. It was very empowering. And it also gave the meeting the opportunity to learn from the youth and to recognize the talents that our young people have. Okay, so with that, we are going to divide into breakout groups, and we'll just let the online breakout groups fall where the chips fall. And you all can decide your topic, your task is to briefly introduce yourselves, just name where you're from and your meeting or church, and then choose a prompt, one of the 7 prompts, and then write a plan or notes, a lesson plan or notes for one idea. Choose a scribe who will write that down. And then when the small groups close, each group will have 2 minutes to share their idea. And the scribe can share, and anybody else who wants to add can add to it. And then we'll collect the notes and we'll work with you so we can write them up into lesson plans or project ideas. So you are going to be just jotting. It will not be a finished product, but we're generating ideas amongst ourselves. And you will have, let's see, what is it? 40, no, you're going to have 30 minutes to do this. Questions before we break? All right, we'll see you in 30 minutes, friends. Okay, in the room. How-
Hello, Pamela.
Hello. I think I've gone back to the main room. Have I? Hello? 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 Am I in any of the groups? Hello?
Hi, Pamela. You need to go to the lower right-hand corner of your screen and rejoin your group.
Room 10.
Yep,
Which group am I?
you are in room 2. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there should be a button that says join breakout room.
Okay, maybe you can take me back to the group. I thought I have gone back to the main room.
Okay, I'm gonna send you into a different group and then and that's gonna be where you go.
Okay.
Hi, Pamela, you just went into your room and then came back to the main room. There's not much else I can do to help you. Pamela, you're muted, but let me.
Intergenerational, yeah, fine, it's good.
Okay, I was saying, hello. Hello.
Pamela, hello.
Okay, I don't know why I'm going back to the main room. Maybe you can just take me back to the to room 3.
Yep, I just sent you there. You went there and you came right back. I'm not really sure what's happening. I'm gonna move you to another
I
room.
also don't know what is happening, but maybe you can just take me back there.
share like 2 minutes. We will go a little over time. Yeah. We're kind of on Quaker time. Apologies. Oh,
No, on my part, it's,
the lesson is to always plan for translation, because that's where we slow down.
Yeah. Well, I have one set of times that have us go until 6 o'clock. So, but I don't think that was, it looks to me like maybe that's not really what we were aiming at.
We will go a little longer, but we won't go all the way to 6 o'clock. But we'll have to take a little extra time. Okay, friends, is everybody back in the room?
The-
Right.
People are still coming back from Zoom.
Okay. Well, when we're all,
They should be,
are we all back? Oh, we're still arranging here.
they just got back. They should be
Yeah.
good now.
There we go.
Thank you, friends. How many breakout rooms did we have on Zoom?
We had 4.
4. Okay. So maybe we'll start in the room here, and then we will go to the breakout rooms and just take 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about what you came up with. And then we'll ask the scribes to email us your notes. Email them to me at communications@QuakerREcollaborative.org. So communications, plural, at QuakerREcollaborative.org. All right, so very quickly, I'll start. Our group planned George Fox's 400th birthday, which is actually July of 1624. So we have 2 years. We can move in Quaker time and still get this done. And we talked about doing an all ages picnic where we climb a hill and we tell the story of George Fox on the top of Pendle Hill. And then we have queries. We form small groups, mixed ages small groups, where we ask people to get together with somebody they don't know or somebody that they hope to know better, but it must be mixed ages. And our queries are something like, these will be seasoned. How do you make a connection with the spirit? How do you test your leadings? Have you asked spiritual questions of others and been dissatisfied? What situations have you felt close to God? And then we have worship sharing using the no more than 5-word response, which puts children and adults on the same footing. We have a picnic at the top of the hill with a George Fox birthday cake. Maybe the kids make cookies with question marks on them. We potluck the picnic. And then we may act out the play of George Fox going before King Charles. There is a script, and it would be a reader's play with the script on index cards. We would have a narrator, ideally a teen who is self-confident. And then at the end, the judge gives a ruling like, okay, I give up, find your path and go. And so off we all go and we walk down the hill together. The principles are that adults and children and youth work together on all parts of this. We might invite the yearly meeting youth retreat if we don't have enough kids in our meeting. And then children and youth are welcome to invite friends to this celebration. What did I leave out, you all? Oh, singing. We'll sing the George Fox song, and we're singing Happy Birthday to George around the cake. Second. Pause.
Okay, speak now.
We discussed a sort of a lesson plan that we might design around the idea of anger in the Bible, focusing on the story of the prodigal son. And particularly the kind of vexation of the good son who doesn't get Who plays by the rules? Yeah, who plays by the rules and for what? And so we thought about possibly having a kind of dramatization of the story, wherein there could be kind of a timeout call. At the point where, because there's a point where the good son brings us up with the dad, like, hey, and kind of a moment where we thought about then a number of things could happen in that timeout, right? We could have somebody spiritually companion the good son who's having some emotions that may not necessarily guide us to, and then we talked too about queries around what does anger do for us? What is, the sense that anger can identify when things are not fair. So is anger a tool for addressing injustice? But in this story, it's not necessarily that kind of thing. So what is anger doing in this story? What does anger do when it happens in us? How do we respond to it? How do we hold people with love through moments of anger, whether or not they're focused on injustice? And then we talked a little bit about.
I'm sorry, can you slow down that story a little bit?
Sure. Yep. Are we? Go ahead.
You're good. Just maybe slow down a little bit so that folks can keep up with you.
Sure. Well, and then really all the other things that we just talked about, we're thinking about then other stories of anger in the Bible, or of the Phoenician woman who gets angry at Jesus and says that when he says that the message is kind of not for her, that it's for the Jews, and she says even the dogs get scratched, that kind of mother, and he disagrees with her, they're called by her anger to respond. Or the moment of Jesus in the temple. So kind of where other places where anger exists, and this kind of thing could be done to enact something, and then have maybe a timeout of some kind to think about what is anger doing, how do we respond to it, how should we respond to it, what does anger teach us, and ultimately a sense of what kinds of love do we need to give to offer. So that was our.
Thank you, Michael.
Awesome.
Group 1 from Zoom. Do we have a scribe?
Was I group 1? I can't.
Yeah, so group 1 was Ann Collins, Marsha Holiday, Violet Kakame, and Joyce Shilabula.
I can share. I took notes. So I had to take a phone call. Anyway, we did not know the exact assignment. So here's what we did. We came up with activities you could do with children and adults together. And I think that you could take this and have it an afternoon session with children, or a morning session, where a time when you had an intergenerational activity, and this could work. Because we have movement and we have stories. Anyway, one is a picture story, a picture puzzle, where you have a picture that's from a story that you're going to tell to the group, and you pair people up or put 2 or 3 and have adults and children together. And as you tell the story, the group so you take this picture and cut it up into puzzle pieces, maybe the size of the age of the children there, maybe 8 pieces, maybe 15, depending on how old the children are. And if you have just children, you might have fewer. If you have adults working with them, you can have more. And while you tell the story, they get to put the puzzle together, and they can talk about the story afterwards. We talked about playing games together, or having playful activities. I used to do this after announcements in Salt Lake City when I lived there in the 80s, and it was wonderful. We're about 30 people, and so children and adults got to know each other on an equal footing. I think I used a lot of the activities that I found were from this friendly classroom for the small planet, and I did that. Liz Yates and I did a workshop on that at Powell House several years ago. So some of those activities there, but basically it was just adults and children who might not know each other. They're not from the same family, and having fun together and learning names and doing things together, and everybody's on an equal footing. And Washington, D.C. meeting used to have a Friday night when they actually had food. It wasn't a program, but it was
an activity. They brought food and then they played games together. They played board games to other kind of games, but they did that on a Friday night once a month just to be together. And we talked about jumping rope. And this is an activity for teaching and learning and singing the names of the Bible, and how the children and the adults like doing that together and have fun jumping or not jumping, depending on your age, how good you are, and learning the names of the books of the Bible and learning them in order. And we talked about singing, that the singing activities where include singing for children and adults is really important, and how bonding, how useful that is, and how connecting that is. And then we talked about felt board stories, being able to tell stories with felt boards, and the adults and the children would have fun doing that together too. So
Thank you, Anne.
I want to go to George Fox's birthday party.
Don't we all? That's great. So who's in group 2, Jen?
Group 2 was Laura McNorlin, Marilyn Cade, and Pamela.
Who would like to speak for that group?
I've been doing a lot of talking, but in Spanish. Do you want me to share, friends? Is that okay?
In English.
We focused, I think, mostly on number 6. Outreach to the wider community, how to invite families to join the intergenerational meeting and church community. So we kind of talked about it more informally, just checking in on how things are going. But one thing that Pamela offered was the idea of doing, everyone did for a time, all the students of Sunday school going and doing a picnic together, which has not been possible during COVID. And talking about times when that Maryland's meeting has had singing beforehand. So what does it look like to start imagining how can we get together? And that really the hope I shared at our yearly meeting, that many of the people who wanted to come were the young adults, and the children are very excited to be together, and the parents who had grown up in the community who have their own children now. So what does it mean that people are inspired without being asked to? The young adults want to come and volunteer or work. So noticing who is wanting to be involved and not taking that for granted as we work on creating community together. So we had a lot of feeling of hopefulness and of wanting to be able to find ways to do, and noticing some of us masks sometimes, adults not wearing masks, and children are not coming, but adults are there masking. So it's been an interesting time of can parents even bring their children? Can adults even come? And if the adults don't come, can children come? Or it's okay to try to be together again, but we're not doing the big group thing. So I think some of it is how to navigate the logistics when it's tricky, and knowing that people still do want to be together for wider community events, and to have time to enjoy together.
Thank you, Laura. Who was in group 3?
Group 3 was Ann Stone, Jana Norlin, and Sarah.
Hello.
Jana, go ahead.
Anna Norland here from Grand Rapids, Michigan in the United States. And we had Sarah from Kenya, and we had Anne from Brussels, Belgium. And so we agreed on number 1. We're thinking more about World Quaker Day, but we ended up kind of relating it to number 6 as well. And so we talked about whether or not World Quaker Day had a theme, and this came in the mail to me yesterday. So we looked at the theme as becoming the Quakers the world needs, and that World Quaker Day does have a website that you can go to look for suggestions, ideas, and ways of connecting. And so we talked about, and it was happening in our own individual meetings. And we talked about whether or not we were meeting in person or if we were hybrid, and whether or not children were actually participating. So in my meeting, children have not been participating, and Anne's meeting, children have not been participating. And Sarah talked about the different age groups, how they do their age grouping with their children, and what they've been going through for the past 2.5 years, trying to do that kind of outreach. And so we came up with the idea of trying to connect with the children who maybe are not attending by developing some materials or packets or whatever that are age appropriate and to their interest about what it is to be a Quaker and World Quaker Day. And that maybe we could have our interactions in our fellowships by Zoom if they're not actually coming to meeting, and that we could possibly attempt to Zoom with other churches or other meetings, and even in other countries. So we've exchanged our emails, and we're going to see if there's anything that we can come up to develop on this. But we talked about the connections that we need to strengthen within our own churches or our own meetings. And we need to ask first, what do we need? Because we've had so much division by COVID separating us that we really need to regroup and get to know each other. And, you know, some of these kids, I mean, 2.5 years is a big jump age-wise for these children, but they're not the same children that we knew before COVID hit us. So we feel like we need to invest some time between now and World Quaker Day in making those stronger connections within our own meetings to find out what our own needs are. And then when we feel like we're meeting our own needs, maybe we can reach out to find out what is it that the world needs of Quakers, and what would our connections be. So we talked a little bit about connecting more and talking more with the children from our own meetings, so that they have a better sense of how to speak about these things, to share their ideas, and how to take actions, come up with their own ideas. And once they are modeling that for each other within their church family or their meeting family, that is going to be reaching out into the wider community, because a lot of our children don't go necessarily to a friend's school. And so the friends that they play with are not getting the same kinds of messages that they may be hearing in their church or meeting or in their homes. And so we can help them to be able to communicate better within our own spiritual families, so that they can do that in the wider community, and that we as adults will be modeling that as well. So we are going to try and connect with each other by email in the future, and are looking forward to seeing the ideas that come from the website for World Quaker Day, as well as this collaborative.
Thank you. And I think FWCC is encouraging meetings to attend, to get together across the Quaker world for World Quaker Day. So the last group, who was in that group?
Chris and Dorcas and the OPP 19982. Agneta? Yeah. And Agneta.
Yes. So we were taking children leading worship. And there were sort of two models. The kind of once a year where the youth take over the whole meeting, but it seems, at least in Agneta's case, once a month, the children come in for the last 20 minutes and present. And the way it might go is that if you have a theme for the month, the first, let's say, this is our example, let's say it's God is love. So the first Sunday, you talk about a scripture that is about God is love. And what does that mean? The second Sunday might be a poem, and they all work on a poem about God is love. The third Sunday might be a little drama about this theme. And the fourth Sunday might be a song. And so you put all those together in that 20 minutes. And so you have made a presentation by Sunday, treating various aspects of a theme. And then that's the substance of what the children present to the adults.
How lovely.
Very nice.
Thank you, everyone. So thoughts about these ideas as we close? Anyone?
They're wonderful. They're varied. Some are outdoors, physical. They're fresh. I'd love to go to any one of them.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
More difficult than I had thought.
It did seem like it.
It's more doable than I would have thought.
Yeah, this planning, yes. Andrew?
I think that when we do these things together and we include all the generations, there's a special way in which we feel unity. And that's something that my meeting has lost, is a feeling of unity. We don't have a sense of ourselves as a community all together right now. And so the idea of intergenerational activities could really be particularly important for meetings that are suffering that kind of tensions and just participation.
Because people tend to gather around the children.
Youth lead, then usually the rest of us will follow. It's a good point. Kurt?
Kurt from North Carolina. I particularly appreciated people mentioning putting the older and the younger on equal footing. Thought that was connecting a lot of lessons.
Well, friends, I think let's close.
A moment of worship and gratitude for this wonderful inpouring of the Spirit. Thank you, friends. So the next session is regathering our local and regional communities of practice, and that will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is in an hour and 13 minutes. For those in Africa, you can set your times. And if you are not going to join us this evening, the next thing is the Tote Bag Cafe at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. And we will talk about old curricula and renewing old curricula. Then we will have unprogrammed worship at 9 a.m. Eastern time and meeting for business at 10:30 a.m. Eastern North American time.
The next section is
Hour and 45 minutes. Sorry. Thank you. My math error. So for those of you in Africa, set your timers for an hour and 45 minutes. If you're still awake, bless you. And Belgium and We'll see you in a little while.
Thank you, friends on Zoom. I'm gonna mute the audio in this room. We can still hear you, but you won't hear us.
Thank you for mentioning me. Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed in a while. Oh, it's just been wonderful today. I won't be with you later today, your time, but tomorrow.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for joining us and rest well. I love seeing your faith and practice behind you.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah. It's always behind me, almost always.
And thank you for your participation in the break time earlier today. That was really nice to hold that space together.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Are we having a recess of 1 hour 45 minutes? Then we come back.
That is correct, Pamela.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. And greetings to all your little grandchildren. Good to see you.
Yes, bye.
Laura Norton, I want to tell you, I have a little grandchild.
You do? Oh my goodness, that's so exciting.
I do. He's 4 weeks old.
Wow, a really new one.
He's a brand new one. And my daughter-in-law sent me. So this is him looking in the crib, looking at the thing. She said she had a hard time getting a picture of it because he was kicking his feet, legs, and arms.
That's amazing.
He's a very cuddly, sweet little boy, and I got to spend a month out there house sitting for friends. So I went every day to see him. Not every day, almost every day.
That's wonderful. Oh, congratulations.
Yes, I have a big smile every time I say anything about him. I just noticed, like, I'm beaming. Anyway, and Jana, you've got 8-year-old grandchildren, triplet grandchildren now.
Right, because for those of you who are still on the screen, Laura McNorland is my daughter, and her triplet grandchildren are my grandchildren.
Uh-huh.
And this is her father.
Mine too.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes, we're all part of it.
Yes. Oh,
I will.
good.
I will see you all later on. I'm gonna go grab some food.
Okay,
So, see you.
good.
It's nice to see friends that I've seen before in person and on screens. That's good. Bye-bye.
Wonderful.
Very,
you all.
very lovely to be with Kenyan friends.
Yes, yes, very nice.
We're holding all of you in our prayers for elections and peace in your country. Yes. Blessings.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm happy for meeting all of you here tonight.
Thank you, Sarah.
Oh,
Let me
Sarah,
try and sleep for 1 hour 45 minutes. If I manage to wake up, see you. If I don't manage, then we'll meet tomorrow.
Okay, well, we'll let you go sleep. Good night. Good rest. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Love
Thank
you all.
you, friends.
Good.
Happy for being together.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna go not rest with my triplets. Bye-bye.
Saa sita na bado anarudi.